My name is Fro, and this is everything you'll need to know as a beginner in DayZ. So you just spawned for the first time in Chernarus, but you've got an issue. You don't know what to do. The main goal when you first start is to A, find food and water, and B, find a weapon. Because this is America.
This is America.
We'll start off with food. There are around 5 ways to get food in DayZ. You can scavenge local buildings, killing zombies, hunting, planting crops, and best of all in the beginning, fishing. To fish, you'll need to make a fishing rod. To make a fishing rod, you'll need 1 long stick and 1 rope. You can easily make rope by tearing up clothes from buildings you scavenged from by using a knife. You'll need 2 stacks of rags, or 12 rags total. Now combine 1 stack of rags with another stack of rags to craft a rope. Now all you need is a long stick. You can get a long stick by tearing down a bush. You don't really need a knife for this, by the way. Once you've gotten your magical 5-inch long stick, you know what? 5 inches is long for me, okay? Anyways, combine it with rope to make the fishing rod. Now make yourself a wooden hook by cutting up a short stick with a knife, and voila! You've got yourself everything you need to go fishing. But we aren't done yet. Now you gotta dig up worms. You can use a knife, but if you use a shovel, pickaxe, or a hoe,
Whoever threw that paper, your mom's a hoe.
anyways, you'll get 3 times the amount of worms. To go fishing, combine the hook to the fishing pole, then combine the worm. Now go to the nearest water source and hold down left click until you hear a splash. Once you hear a splash, let go. I recommend grabbing about 3 or 4 fish for the start. After grabbing your fish, you can cut them up using your knife. But wait, we've got another issue. We need to cook the fish. You can easily make a fire by making a drill kit. To make a drill kit, you'll need 1 piece of bark and a short stick. You can get bark from any tree using your knife, and you can get a stick by chopping down a bush. Now combine the bark with the short stick and you just acquired a new skill. To make a fire at the start, I recommend going to a building with a fireplace. Once you find your fireplace, go ahead and add kindling. It could be either a rag, a piece of bark, paper, or even bandages. Now, once you attach that to the fireplace, go ahead and use your drill kit to set it on fire. Make sure you either have firewood or some sticks so then the fire keeps on going. Now, just add the fish to the fireplace and wait until they turn brown. If you wait too long, they can get burned and you can get chemical poisoning. Now that you'll never go hungry, unlike those African kids, let's focus on water. You can get water from pots, water bottles, canteens, streams, and Sophie Rain's bathwater. If you don't get the hint, every water source is contaminated except water from water pumps. Using the map I survived, this is what water pumps look like. If you find a water bottle or canteen, empty it before filling it up or drinking it, because like I said, it's contaminated. If you aren't lucky enough to be near a water pump, you can also boil water to purify it, or use chlorine tablets, usually found in medical areas or hunting areas. So just like Helen Keller, use that water pump. Now that we've went over the basics on how to survive, it's quiz time. Let's see how many you get right before we go to the next section. Question 1. What supplies do you need to craft a fishing rod? Question 2. What is the only safe drinking source for water? Question 3. What supplies do you need to craft a drill kit? And question 4. How do you get bark? If you got at least one of those right, you're learning. So let's keep on going, because you're going to be a pro by the end of the video. Now that you know how to survive, let's find your first weapon. Finding a weapon in DayZ right at the start is mostly luck. You'll most likely find a shotgun or a pistol. If you loot 50 to 75% of the town, you'll at least find a pistol. Some of the buildings I would definitely loot is the police stations, military tents, guardhouses, hunting cabins, and the village pub. Here are some of the starter towns that'll give you a greater chance of finding a weapon. First up, we've got Chernarus. Chernarus is probably one of the best spawns in DayZ as a new player, because to the west or left side of Chernarus, you've got Belota Airfield with multiple military tents. And then to the north of Chernarus, we've got a military checkpoint. Then to the east or right side of Chernarus, we've got 2 military tents. There's also 2 police stations in this town that I highly recommend looting. You'll find things like a shotgun, a scout rifle, and probably a scorpion or some other decent gear. The second best town is Electro, with 1 military tent in its town, plus a police station. There's also a hunting camp up the road from it and a military outpost. The third best town is Berezino. With it having a police station and also a hunting camp up the road, it's a pretty decent spot. Now that you're not starving or dehydrated and you have a weapon, it's time to talk about navigation and going inland. The easiest way to know where you are on the map is by going to the end of your city and reading the sign. If there's a red slash in the name, it means you're leaving the town. If there isn't a red slash, that means you're entering the town. After reading the sign, I recommend going into iSurvive to figure out where you are. Link is in the description. Anyways, once you figure out where you are in the town, use landmarks to figure out the exact place you're at. Like if you're by the police station, you should find the police station in that town or follow how the roads are on the map.
That's amazing, Fro, but how do I use a compass?
Great question, random person. Definitely not me. Using a compass is simple. There's north, east, south, and west, or easily known as never eat soggy waffles. Basically, you draw a line from where you're currently located to where you're going. That'll tell you what direction to go. Now open your compass and head in that direction. Now let's take a quiz. If I was an Electro and I had to go to Starroy, what direction am I supposed to go? North! That's right. Great job. Now besides the compass and the signs, there's also trails. Basically all you're doing is following the color path, basically like Dora. I know my FBI agent right now is probably a little concerned, and I did this to make you laugh, just so you know.
Well, how do I know where I'm going, Fro?
You know, I always like to say there's no such thing as dumb questions, until I heard that one. Anyways, it's on the sign. All jokes aside, now that you have all the gear, and you actually know how to travel on DayZ, here's a couple tips to know if a survivor or bandit is around. One of the signs that I use the most is seeing zombies spawn in a town from around 300 to 400 meters away. Hearing recent gunshots is another one. If you hear any gunshots, go to the town that is in that direction, and 9 times out of 10, you'll find that survivor. The next one is finding a zombie that is T-posing. I know, it sounds weird, but usually it means it was aggroed previously from another survivor. The next tip is finding dead zombies. Usually, zombies despawn when a player leaves an area around 100 meters away, and they usually sit there for about 6 minutes at the most. So if you find a zombie, there's a good chance someone's around. So now that you're almost a pro, let's talk about medicine. There are multiple diseases, and they can all be treated, except Kuru. Don't eat your friends. I'm looking at you, Dahmer. I know you like your dark meat. You'll learn all the diseases in less than 1 minute, and at the end, I'm gonna quiz you. Let me know what you get down below. The first disease is Salmonella. The causes are eating raw meat with bloody hands. Symptoms, vomiting and pain sounds. Cure, charcoal tablets and vitamins. Next disease is wound infection. What causes wound infection is bandaging with an unsterile/disinfected rags. Symptoms are scrambler and pain sounds. Cure is tetracycline. Next disease is cholera. Causes, drinking contaminated water. Symptoms, vomiting and fever. Cure, tetracycline and vitamins. Next disease is chemical poisoning. Causes, eating rotten/burned food and drinking gas. Also, eating snow. Symptoms, constant vomiting. This can be cured by charcoal tablets or thyme. The next one is the common cold. Causes of the common cold are being wet or cold or around a sick survivor. Symptoms are coughing, shivers, and fever, and the cure is tetracycline and vitamins. If this progresses, you probably get pneumonia. But honestly, let's try not to get to that point. There are more diseases, but honestly, you can read the rest because I left a link in the description. Anyways, remember this, when in doubt, thug it out by taking every med you have in your system. Vote Fro for president for 2028. Anyways, quiz time! What causes the common cold? What cures wound infection? What causes cholera? What causes wound infection? And what are the symptoms of wound infection? Great job! If you got 1 out of 5, you passed. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I sterilize a bandage? And how can you tell if a bandage is sterile? To tell if a bandage is sterile, open up your inventory and hover over the bandage. It should tell you if it's clean or not. If it's not sterile or clean, you can use alcohol tincture, disinfectant spray, or iodine tincture by combining it with the rags/bandages. All of these items can be found in residential and medical locations.
That's amazing, but what if my leg breaks?
Well, there's 2 options. You can either A, make a splint, or B, When in doubt, thug it out. Basically, you just sit there and wait for 30 minutes for your leg to fix. There's a total of 3 ways to make a splint. You can use 4 rags and 2 sticks, or you can do a full bandage and 2 sticks. And lastly, you can use half a duct tape and 2 sticks. Honestly, the splint just makes it so you don't pass out when you walk, but it's still nice to have. And just to quickly go over what the morphine and EpiPens do, the epinephrine auto-injector, that's a big word, makes it so you can run without losing stamina for a minute. The morphine injector makes it so when you're injured, it speeds you up a little bit. Now that you know how to find food and water, find a weapon, navigate in DayZ, and know how to fix most diseases, you're ready to become a DayZ Pro. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, like and subscribe to join the Fro family.